Hello and welcome. This will be a walkthrough video of our new FlutterFlow guide, which enables you to add offline sync between your FlutterFlow app and your Supabase backend using PowerSync. I will be kind of going through a couple sections in this video. Firstly, talking about things that you need to pull this off. We will then go through from scratch, top to bottom, creating a new FlutterFlow project, creating a new Supabase project, and creating a new PowerSync project, and then connecting all the things up together and building an app. In terms of prerequisites, on the FlutterFlow side, what you will need is their local run solution. If you scroll down to the bottom and you click on desktop apps, you can download their desktop editor for macOS and Windows. We've been hearing from the community that you need the standard plan to use this. So that is probably the biggest prerequisite here. PowerSync has a pretty generous free plan that you can use, and that will be more than enough. Supabase also has a free plan, but on the FlutterFlow side, you will need the standard plan in order to use local run. So what I've got here for our video today is my FlutterFlow editor. I have a couple tabs open. I've actually got the guide, and that's on our documentation site. And for the video, I will actually be going through the guide pretty much. So that will let you have those two resources kind of side by side. I've got my Supabase account, so you'll have to sign up for Supabase, and I've also signed up for PowerSync. All right, so yeah, I think with that, we can pretty much get started. And the first step in the guide is creating our Supabase project. So I've gone ahead and created my project, but it's completely empty, no tables or anything. I'm going to create a new table. We've got some SQL you can run here just to create the table. Okay, I just ran the SQL, and it's really just creating a table, as you can see here. The table has an ID column of type UUID, created at timestamp, name, and owner. Owner points to an actual user on the authentication side of things. And we'll get to that in a minute. The next thing we do is creating a Postgres publication on the Supabase side. This pretty much tells Postgres to publish any changes to this table, and that's how PowerSync knows what to download. All right, so that is created. Next up, we go ahead and configure our PowerSync project. So when you sign up for PowerSync, you'll be taken, we kind of like automatically create a starter project for you, and you can pretty much just follow this wizard. So the first, we're creating a new instance, which we can call Supabase testing. This is the instance of the PowerSync service that kind of does the sync magic. We're going to set up a connection here to our Supabase database. To get that connection string, we head back to project settings, click on database, disable this checkbox, ignore the warning. We are connecting over IPv6, so everything is totally fine. Paste that in, go over to my trusty password manager, get the password. We can enable querying here for debugging, but in production, you typically want to leave that off. Hit test connection. Everything looks good. On the client auth side, you want to go ahead and enable use Supabase auth. Very important. And then you can hit save and deploy. Awesome. So the instance is now being provisioned, and we can head back to the guide. the next step are configuring our sync rules. This is a little bit of coding that you'll need to figure out. If you get stuck, hop on our Discord. But pretty much what sync rules are they're a set of SQL rules which tell PowerSync what to download to your app for a user. We're going to start off with very basic sync rules here, and then we'll make them a bit more advanced later. So yeah, just copying and pasting this from the guide. And as soon as that is done provisioning, it takes about 2 minutes because we provision an entire environment for you, which is kind of isolated. And as soon as that's done, we'll be able to deploy our sync rules. Okay, awesome. That took 1.5 minutes. And we can now validate our sync rules, which checks it against the schema. And it says no issues detected. And then we can deploy our sync rules. So what these sync rules do are they basically just say, select everything from the lists table and sync that to all users. So it's good enough for a first stab, and then we can refine it later. All right. Now we're going to create our FlutterFlow project. So PowerSync guide, create from blank. These defaults are all good. We're not going to use Firebase, and we're going to start building. Yeah. First, a couple of things. We're going to enable Supabase. So we'll head over to Settings, Supabase, enable Supabase. Go and fetch those keys, which is under Settings, API. Copy the URL. And then copy the anon JWT key, click on Get Schema, and we're done. Next up, according to the guide, we are going to create an app constant with our PowerSync URL in it. So that's simple enough. We head over to here, constants, add app constant, and call it PowerSync URL. Note the camel case, that is a string. Now to get the value, you head back to your PowerSync dashboard, you right click on your instance, you click edit instance, and here is the URL in the big blue box. Paste that, and we're done. Okay. Right, now we're going to build ourselves a sign-in screen. Okay, so we head over to pages. We add a page component of flow. I'm going to use this I'll just call this page name login. I think that's what I said, yeah. Create the page. Obviously, you can wire up all these things, but just for the walkthrough, I'm going to kind of delete a lot of these things. Forgot password. I don't really care about that. Pretty much just want to be able to sign in. And then under authentication in app settings, we enable authentication. The authentication type is Supabase. Entry page is login. And once the user is logged in, we redirect them to home page. Now we go and create a test user in our Supabase dashboard. So for that, you head over to project settings, authentication, add user, create new user. Auto confirm should be enabled, and we create the user. Cool. So that is done. Now we can actually launch our app on a physical device or a simulator device. So I use iOS Simulator, which I will boot up over here. And then in the FlutterFlow run, we click on the run here and get the devices, which kind of scans your USB ports and simulator instances and everything. Oh, okay. Something crashed. We're good. So it picked up my iPhone mini, and then I go ahead and hit test. I really like the device logs. They, can't live without your device logs. takes a moment to build, but should be launching any second here. All right, look at that. So now we're going to actually test signing in. I'm going to enter an incorrect password, so that failed. And I'm in. Awesome. And so we passed our first checkpoint, which is being able to log into the app. Okay, now the rubber hits the road. We are going to initialize PowerSync. We make heavy use of custom actions, and I will point out, things that are relevant here and there. But for the most part, you should be able to copy and paste most of it, and you don't need to do much coding. So you can kind of really just follow through the steps here. So, okay, click Custom Actions, add action. We give it a name, init PowerSync. Important for that to be all lowercase, because we will be importing this file from other custom actions. Actually, I'll put the simulator away for now. Okay, and then we're going to copy paste this code over here. So this entire big file, we will copy paste it like so. And the guide then tells us that we're going to import our schema. And so this is kind of the client-side SQLite schema for the data that is stored on the device in the app, or in the browser, kind of if you're using web. So we have a helper in the PowerSync dashboard to generate that client-side schema. So you go and right-click on your instance and click Generate Client-Side Schema. Choose Dart as a language. And there is your schema. So we can head back here to our, there should be some comments at the top. Paste generated schema here. We paste that. Now, unfortunately, due to limitation in FlutterFlow, you have to prefix everything with PowerSync dot. And so that would be schema, that would be any table, that would be column, and kind of so on and so forth. Okay, so that is done. We are now going to add a dependency. So to add that dependency, you head over to Editor. On the right-hand side, you add the dependency. Now we do have something that you can copy-paste over there. For the Flutter nerds, this is being served from pub.dev, and you can always dig a bit deeper into the package here. And we're using the latest stable version, 1.3.1. Okay. Next up, we're going to configure our app to call this custom action when the app launches. So to do that, you click on, first, of course, save your action. Oh, it cannot be paused. Let's have a look. I think I'm missing a semicolon here. All right. Okay, now we can head back to main.dart. We set up a final action of init PowerSync. And so when the app starts up for the first time, it'll call some system, initialize Supabase, and then it'll initialize PowerSync. We go ahead and hit save and head back to the guide. Now we're at a checkpoint. So we can actually rerun the we have to stop the app and relaunch it. We've changed some pretty big things. So we go ahead and hit stop. We hit test again. Open our device logs. That should have pulled in the new dependency and is now rebuilding the app. All right, the build is done and it is launching the app. And actually, if you see this somewhat cryptic message, which we'll make a bit more positive in the future, But if you see apply checkpoint 0, that means you're connected to PowerSync and your app is actually busy downloading data. Now, of course, we have no data and there is no UI, so you wouldn't, it's not really downloading anything. But if you were to put a row in lists, it would immediately be downloaded to your app at this point. Okay, so yeah, speaking of reading data, let's create some UI and bind it to that data in the local SQLite database so that we can actually see some data coming through. Okay, and the type of reading that we're going to do here is real-time streaming. And we'll do a little demo of that together, which should be quite fun. All right, so create a new custom action and call it watch lists. Note, the camel case here is fine. It's going to create action, watch lists, and that's going to really watch all of the entries in the lists table. And we go ahead and hit save there. I think that updates the parameters for us, which is pretty nice. All right, so our action arguments look like this with a nested action. And back on our guide, we're going to create a second custom action, which is called get lists, and that kind of just bubbles things up to the UI later. Okay, we hit save action. Again, hit yes. That sets up our parameters. Our action arguments now look as follows. Very good. On the home page, select actions and click Open Action Editor. All right, let's head over there. Okay. Guide tells us add the watch lists custom action, click open to edit or callback argument for watch lists, add the get lists custom action and set the results action. Okay. So add action, watch lists, set action arguments, click open, add action, get lists. And this is really just some hoops that we got to jump through to bubble up the results of our watched query to the UI. Set action variable to all lists. Okay. That is over here. All lists. And this type should be of result, which is the action parameter result there. And confirm. Okay, that's all looking good. And then the guide tells us that we add move that out the way again, update page state custom action. Now you'll notice that updating page state is actually grayed out. So what we'll do is we'll go and create a page state variable that we're going to use in the future. I'm not going to use it right now. So we'll go over here, add a field, and we will call it fab clicked. It is a Boolean. Initial value is false, and then we hit confirm. Now if we head back to our action editor, open it up, open up the nested callback. This action should be page state. And rebuild current page. That's what we want. Okay, now we're going to add a list view component. So we head back to our widget explorer, find ourselves a list view, drag that in. And then we add a list tile inside the list view. And then we're going to set generate dynamic children on the list view over there, over here. We enter a variable name of bound lists, and then that will be set to all lists like that. Okay, and then on the tile component, we will extract the name field from the lists table result that comes up. So, and we set that as the title. So over here, I mean, this is, you know, it should be bound lists, right? Oh, yeah, very important. Gotta hit save. And then, okay, cool. So we head back here to title, and we should be able to find the bound list. There we go. And then we get the row field of the name, hit confirm. And then we do the same actually for the subtitle. So if we scroll down a bit, we'll see subtitle here, bound list item, get row from field, and set that to created at. Okay. Now we're going to hit reload in our app, and the screen should still be blank. So let's go ahead and do that. Just checking that there are no errors in the compilation. Perfect. And now the guide checkpoint is telling us to create a test row in Supabase. So let's go ahead and do that. Click Insert, Insert Row. Leave everything blank. And set the user ID to the test user we created and hit save. And voila! The app has synced from Supabase to the PowerSync service and down to our app in real time. Yeah, always a great feeling when that works. Great. So next up, we want to create some items, and we'll talk you through how to do that. Oh, actually, before we do that, another fun thing to play with is to make a change to a field in Supabase and see that magically appear in your app. So you can see all updates are also streamed in real time. We can also delete the row, and you'll see that it is magically gone. Yeah. Okay, so now let's implement some functionality to create new list items on our app. So we will go ahead and create a new... one thing before I move on. So at the top of the guide, you will notice a little info box here. And you'll remember that we created essentially two custom actions, watch lists and get lists. And that is needed whenever you are using watch queries, which are like give you that real-time functionality. And it's really just due to a limitation in FlutterFlow, we have to kind of pass in this callback to our custom action. The callback is get lists, and all that the callback is doing is returning its parameter, and that's how we can bubble it up to our list view component. So for now, unfortunately, for every table in your app that you want to have update in real time like that to be watched, you're going to have two custom actions. The one that does the bulk of the work, it runs this query here, select star from lists. And then the second one, which kind of just is a thin layer that just bubbles it up to the layers above it. And of course, you can add additional conditions to your query here, whatever you want. This is a SQL environment. Okay, I lost my spot on the guide. Here we go, creating data. Okay, so first we'll set up our custom action, which creates entries in SQLite locally. And we will call that create list, I believe. Create list item, yeah. And then we'll go ahead and paste, save the action, click yes. All right. Now in the widget tree view, we'll select the home page and navigate to state management. Now, in the widget view, select the home page. There's a slight discrepancy here. We've already gone and created our fab clicked variable, so you can skip that. But what we'll do now is we'll drop in a fab, and let's do that. So we head over to our page, floating action button, boom. Okay. Now we add an action to that button when it's clicked. And state, update page state. We're going to set fab clicked to true. All right. Now we're going to add a couple of things here. We're going to add a container to the column widget, and then inside the container we're going to add another column. Then we're going to add a text field and a button, and this is where we're going to capture the details for the new list item. So let's head back there. So we've got our top column here, and we're going to add a container in there. And I believe, yeah, this is kind of nice. I like doing it this way too. But we put it above there. And then to this, we add a column. And then to that, we add a text input, text field, sorry. And then we also add a button. Perfect. Then we're going to set the width of the container and the text field to be 100. So somewhere over here, 100%. Oh, cool. That kind of stretched. Yeah, I'll make a note to update the guide there. And then here we can change the button text to be, you know, add, let's say. Now we don't want to show this unless the user has clicked the button. So we'll set the container conditional visibility to have a single condition. The first value will be our fab clicked field. And when that is equal to true, we will show this input field. All right. And then for the add, we're going to go back to, we're going to add an action on that add button. And that's going to call our create list item. And then that's going to pass in the parameters to the custom action. Actually, it's only the name parameter. Yeah. So we hit add action. We're going to call create list item. You can see that wants an argument, and so that is that text field on the widget state. Cool. We then want to clear out the text field for the next item that gets added. And there's a clear text field custom action. And then we also want to set fab click to false so that those fields go away. So we go ahead and update the page state. We set fab clicked to false. Cool. And that should be it. All right, time for another checkpoint. So we're going to reload our app. And you note we still have no data, but now clicking on that shows our text input. And we will create an element locally. And there you can see we have a row in our table. And the nice thing about PowerSync is that uploads are also handled. So you can see that that row that the user created locally is uploaded. And if the phone was offline, it would have been created locally and also placed like into an upload queue. And then when the phone comes online again, that will magically just sync up to Supabase. You can see that it really was that initial watch query and the initialization, which was the heavy lifting, things are getting quite a bit easier here. Next up, we'll add the ability to delete data. So once again, we create a custom action to delete. So you can kind of see every database operation you want to do, you create a custom action. So this one is called delete list item. And we paste, and we hit save action. We say yes. And what you can see here is this is running the SQL query delete from lists where ID equals to this parameter. And that parameter is handled by FlutterFlow quite nicely. What we'll do now is on the list tile, we will go ahead and enable slidable. And on the slidable widget, we will change that to be kind of a delete action. And so we changed that to a trash icon, let's say. No, delete. Yeah, I prefer that one. And the text can be delete. And then we open up the action editor, and we add action to delete list item once a parameter. And that parameter is the bound list item. And you hit confirm. All right, I believe that should take us to the next checkpoint. Oh, let's have a look. Oh, you need to actually stop at this point because slidable is like a native interaction. And so FlutterFlow actually needs to rebuild the entire app. So we'll just go ahead and do that. Hit stop and restart. Okay, the app is launched. And let's see, let's create another item to play with. And let's go ahead and open up Supabase side by side and watch things happen there. So let's go ahead and swipe and delete. So voila. Deletes are working. So that was, as you can see, things are getting quite a bit easier. Now we will add the ability to sign out of the app, which is pretty common. And to do that, I kind of just drag a button onto the app bar here under Actions and call that Sign Out. And this is more just to show you how Sign Out works. And we create a custom action here called Sign Out. And then we copy paste the code from the guide, save the action. Oh, of course, we want to sign out of Supabase too, very important. So we head back to our page and open the action editor, add an action that we'll call the PowerSync sign out, and then we add another action on the auth side, which is logout, Supabase Authentication, logout. All right. So let's reload the app. Now, we want to test that, data is preserved between signing out and signing in. And so what actually happens, if we have a look at the custom action, is we're calling disconnect and clear from the PowerSync SDK. And what that will do is it will sign you out, and it will also wipe the local data. But the next time you sign in, it'll re-download all the data. Now, there is a function called disconnect, and then it doesn't have to reload all the data. But yeah, we're using disconnect and clear here. So let's create two. Actually, yeah, not really a list, it's an item, right? Okay, and now we sign out. All right. And then we sign back in. And it's re-downloaded our data. That is pretty much it from a functionality perspective. We have creates, deletes, updates, signing in, signing out. Next up, we will secure the app a bit, because if you recall, our sync rules were set up to sync all lists to all users. Now, in some cases, you might want that, such as syncing public data, like a list of ATM locations or something like that. But in many cases, you'll want private data just for the user. And so that's kind of the next chapter in the guide, is securing your app. And kind of there are two parts to this. The one is Supabase's row level security, and sync rules roughly match row level security rules. And so we've got some, you can enable it visually by clicking enable. But we also do have a helper SQL script here in the guide, which enables row level security for lists. And it basically enables all SQL operations if owner ID column matches the currently logged in user. So we'll go ahead and run that. Next up, we'll set up our sync rules, and we've got demo sync rules over here that you can use. We go to our PowerSync dashboard. We paste those. You can click validate, which does some somewhat intelligent validation, and no issues are detected. So we'll go ahead and deploy those sync rules. All right. So pretty much what's happening here is there's a single rule called user lists, which really means only download list items for this user. And there are two parts to each sync rule. There's a parameter query and a data query. Parameter query is pretty standard. We're pretty much just pulling out the user ID, like which user does this rule apply to, or like what's the field to use for the user ID. And then the data query says what to do with the user ID. So in our case, we're going to say select star from lists where owner ID equals the user ID. And if you recall, our Supabase table has a column called owner ID. So it's really just saying whoever signed into the app, match up their Supabase user ID to this column and download all that data. So what we'll do is to kind of like get confidence in the system is we'll create a second user and confirm there. And now we'll create another row over here, linking it to Benita. So we'll insert another row, not my item, and then set the user ID. Okay, there we go. Hit save. Now you'll see it immediately sync through, right? And that's because the sync rules are still deploying. Yeah, that kind of is definitely going to help us get some confidence in the system. So we'll wait for those sync rules to deploy. All right, sync rules deployed and the row disappeared magically. So we've now secured our solution in the sense that only scoped data is downloaded and also protected on the Supabase side with row level security rules. Cool. Known issues, limitation, gotcha. So currently it's not possible to use the FlutterFlow web editor. So you have to use local run, like I mentioned at the start. If you try to compile any custom action by clicking this button up here, FlutterFlow is going to complain and spit out errors. You can ignore those errors. The last one, when you're using the watch query, it's important to call .cancel on those because it opens up, and that you'll see over here. I've got a little comment in the custom action. Whenever you call watch, you kind of need to cancel that as well if it exists. So that's a little bit of a more technical thing, but as long as you kind of stick to the paradigm we've given you here, you'll be good. All right. Thanks for watching. And of course, reach out to us on our Discord where we're always hanging out, and there are other FlutterFlow users that can help you. And yeah, happy building.